Relocating can have a significant impact on your product career. It's easy to romanticize moving to a new city or country, but there are a lot of questions you need to ask first. Where should you move? When? What should you consider? And the ultimate question, how can you make this significant choice work for you? This Relocation Ask Me Anything webinar will feature three leaders sharing their relocation experiences and stories. By the way, I'm Maria Cassis, founder and general manager of Product League, and we help you to become the best product manager you can be. Product League is an international mentoring program for product managers by product managers in 30 countries around the world, from Morocco to Canada, from Iran to Colombia, and anywhere in between. In this session, you will learn how to consider the long-term pros and cons of relocation so you can make an informed decision, one that is right for your product career. And we really want to get to know you better. So please go ahead and in the comment section, let us know who you are, where you're from, and what is your relocation question. Let's turn this product event into our little product party. The panelists on our panel today span 3 continents. Negar Mohtania, Director of Product at Bird Circle and Product League Mentor, is joining us from Sydney. Igor Motovoy. Hello guys, I don't know what happened to the photo, but there was an issue, so I'm just going to introduce you and let everyone know how amazing you are, and well, thank you personally for being here. So the panelists, as I said just earlier today, span 3 continents. Negar Mohtania, Director of Product at Bird Circle and Product League Mentor, is joining us from Sydney. Igor Motovoy, VP Product at 99 Company and ex-Product League Mentor, is joining us live from Singapore. And Anna Soprun, Head of Technology at Elements Insurance and Product League Mentor, is joining us from Berlin. What's up, guys?
Oh, good. How are you?
Unmute yourself. Join the party. I know that you are excited. I know that you are surprised. I'm surprised too. But we just get things rolling, right? Like product managers do.
Hi, Maria. Hi, Igor and Negar. Super happy to attend the session.
Yeah, likewise. It's good to see you all.
Fantastic. Super happy to have you here all with us today. This is going to be super relevant because, you know, with everything happens in the tech world these days, relocation is a major topic in all lunches. You know, everyone around, we're taking a break, having lunch, and find themselves talking about relocations more than ever before. And you are going to be their literal helpers. You're going to be the 3 people who will make product managers all around the world in our community, word around, to know what are the things that they need to consider, right? How to make a good career move, like literally career move, when it comes to relocation, and do the right decision, the one that will help them both in the short term and the long term, the one that will actually work for them. Now, here's how it's going to happen. We asked the audience when they RSVP'd, when they registered to this event, to submit their questions ahead of time. Of those questions, we collected them all. Of all these questions, we chose the questions that were insightful, interesting, those that we truly think that the community overall can be benefited of. And you are going to be the guys who will give us all the answers, all the juicy information that we all need in order to make a really good career move, a relocation. So we're going to ask questions, we are going to give answers, and we don't stop there because we also want to have questions from the audience submitted right now. So everyone who is now watching us over YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, go ahead, submit your question. Let us know. The 3 magnificent Product League mentors here will give you all the answers you need. So, you know, this is not something that comes by every day. So use this opportunity. It's going to be a really, really good one. And we're starting with a fantastic question that goes to you, Anna. And this one comes from Toby. And he is asking somewhat of a juicy question. When we're talking about relocation, what is the worst mistake a PM can make?
Yeah, so I think it's actually a very easy answer to this question. The worst mistake would be is not to apply your product management experience to the whole relocation, because we use a lot of tools and approaches every day, market research, we're creating roadmaps, we do prioritization. So actually all of that we can use for applying for relocation.
Really nice. So you're saying when someone is your true product PM, like product manager, they need to show it not only to the people who interviewed them, but also in their process towards the new job. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I basically see no other steps. Use all your baggage and apply it for the whole relocation. Interview, research of the market, understanding your professional growth opportunities. All of that is what we do every day.
Fantastic. Yeah. A toolbox for your relocation decision, relocation launch. Yeah, I love that. The next one goes to you, Igor. It comes from Amanda, and she is asking, when relocating, what is the most risky character trait a product manager can possess? It's an interesting one. It's like about a really different angle, but it's a really important one.
Definitely, it's also a very good question, I'd say, on a regular day as well. I mean, to me, I moved continents, right? So I came here from New Zealand and sort of switched from New Zealand to Singapore, from Western to Eastern, sort of, you could say, mentality or setup. For me, I think in reflection, and I've seen it in others, is the ego is probably the riskiest and the most impactful when it comes to you being, moving, or whether it's a move in terms of location itself, or the move even between the jobs, right? You're expected to learn, you're expected to adapt, you're expected to, and especially when you relocate, your learning is not only about the job, about the, what you do on a daily basis, about the company processes, the stakeholders, and all of that. You really need to learn how to communicate. You really need to shift your mentality, to understand other people's mentality in the new country. And if you come with a rigid mindset, if you don't adapt, if you show ego, if that drives your relocation, you come in and say, "Oh, I know it better because I came from, a country where, product management is the best in the world." I'm not saying it's my example. New Zealand is not the example of product management.
We all think
capital.
that product management is the best job in the world.
Yeah, then you gotta just make sure that you come in fresh and you leave your ego behind if you have it.
This is a really, really good one. And Igor, you touched upon your special experience. So how about, before we'll move on to the next question, each and every one of you guys will tell us a little bit about your experiences with relocations. Let's do a little test to me. Okay, let's test me. Okay, Nagar, for you, it was first from Iran to Canada, Canada to Australia. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So
Anna, yes, I'm sorry.
Did you want me to go now?
Again?
Did you want me to talk about it now?
I will. Of course, I want to, but in just a second, because we test me first. We do the fun part where you test me first. Anna, for you, it was 2, if I recall correctly. The first one was inside Ukraine, and the second one is to Berlin, as we know. Okay, so Ukraine to Germany, and Igor, New Zealand to Singapore.
That's right. I was not born in New Zealand. I came there when I was quite young. So
you see, so there is another thing I learned about you today. So we're going to hear more about that. So in just like a few sentences, Nagar, then Anna, and Igor, let us know about your experiences with relocation, your stories.
Yeah, so I moved from Iran to Canada when I was starting university. Obviously, it was a very different time, and I was a very different person. But I moved from Canada to Australia about 5 years ago, and it was all kind of an accident. We kind of came here for vacation, really liked it, came back, had no network, no one we knew in Australia. I had a little child, so we just decided to make it work. And I've been at the same company since then.
Amazing. And I remember from the short paragraph we posted about your experience, that one of the things that made you make the decision to actually relocate to Australia was the difference in the way people live, just the balance, the work-life balance, and everything that comes with it.
For sure. I mean, in Canada, we were so focused on working and we were working so many long hours. And then we came here and we saw people work really hard between 9 to 5, but then they go out and they live outside and they spend time with their children. It was amazing. And that was kind of one of the biggest drivers. Obviously, the weather is also good, so you can always be outside, unlike Canada.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. Anna, your story is different.
Yeah,
Although
my
your
story was
first relocation was for university sake as well.
Yeah, so with university, I think it was easy. It was the decision to study in a good university in the capital of the country. So I think it's yeah, for many young people, it's quite desirable. For moving to Germany, it was more like a family decision that we decided to move to have a better like social system around, better health conditions, and so on. The growth opportunities as well. So that's why I decided to relocate to Berlin. Honestly, looking now as like from 11 years of experience being in Berlin, I'm super happy to make this decision. I actually transitioned from quality assurance to product management during that time. So it changed my professional life. So I really appreciate and I really think it was a great decision. A lot of challenges. I also learned a lot, but I'm happy where I am right now.
And we are going to hear today about all the things that you've learned, right? You are going to share this with us, which is an amazing opportunity. So thank you very much for that, Anna. Last but definitely not least, Igor.
Yeah, for me, I've been living away from my original home for 20 years now. So for me, most of my time was spent outside or elsewhere. I think the move from maybe the recent one from New Zealand to Singapore is probably the most the closest in memory. And for me, the interesting part was actually moving from. I specifically wanted to experience a different culture, and move from New Zealand to Australia was not something I want to do. Just to from the I guess personal growth perspective to really understand how Asia works. There's actually a book, How Asia Works. I recommend it to everyone.
This is beautiful. And I also remember from the course that we shared about your experience that it gave you the opportunity to be exposed to to start up in the really, really, really early days. Something that maybe, if you've been to another place, that won't be an opportunity for you, to be in such an emerging and new and exciting environment.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And not only Singapore, I also worked with teams in Bandung in Indonesia, and just seeing that side of the world and just seeing how the work itself, how people approach work itself is different, was actually a blessing. I mean, to me, I learned a lot, and I think I became a better person in the result.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. And we see that there are many reasons for relocations, right? It's not just about climbing up the ladder. It goes to many and very aspects of life. And I also love the fact that you come from different places, because I don't know why, but people tend to think that when we are talking about relocation, it's only like to America or Canada or places like that. But actually, there are opportunities, and especially product management opportunities, all around the world, right? So this is a beautiful, beautiful example to three people that made really good decisions because they're really good product managers. So Anna, as you said, you use your toolbox to make the right decision. I love that. Thank you very much for that. The next question, guys, this one goes to all of you. It comes from Guy, and he is asking what questions or answers are proper and indicative of a good relocation opportunity, either on a live or on-site interview. And we are starting, Nagar, with you. What do you have to share?
Yeah, I think the relocation is bigger than just taking any job. So you're taking a really big risk. So making sure you're culturally aligned with them, but also that there's a need for your role and there's a reason for why they're coming for you. So I would ask a lot about like, what's the long-term strategy? Where's the company going? How does this role fit into it in the next like 3 to 5 years? How do you expect this role to kind of grow? And maybe not directly, but indirectly kind of try to understand why they're not hiring within the same geography. Is it a skill that they think you have that they haven't been able to find? To basically just give you more confidence that, that they will need you in longer term, and like if you go on with the company, you can get promoted, your career goals are kind of matched with what they want, because this is a long-term commitment.
What I love about your answer, Nagar, is that you're showing that you can be a person who can like take risks, okay, and deal with challenges that comes with relocation, but at the same time you are risk averse as well. Like you can still mitigate the risk if you are asking the right question and make sure that your choice will be the right one for the long term as well. I love it. Relocation is not just for people who just do things on the fly with no meaning to them in the long term. So this is a really good example. Thank you very much. Anna.
I think my answer will be more in the practical direction. I'm quite practical person, so I would ask whether how company supports the people with a relocation. Is there any package going on? Because, for example, will there be any cost to cover your first few months of living? Whether the company will help you to register in local authorities? I know it from Germany. It's not the easiest task. You need the support, especially if you don't know the local language, right? So you may need some support to do it. And if you don't have any of that, then I would consider also am I able to invest all this time and go to local authorities to register myself and struggle with the languages and so on. It's going to be a new place, right? It's going to be a new culture, and you need to be ready. And it would be great if the company actually provides you some of that support.
Really good. Thank you very much, Anna. And Igor, what is the question or answer that you think is the one that can indicate something really good when we're talking about relocation interviews?
I would encourage you to ask about the culture. You are making a big commitment, and you're moving to another country, another continent, away from home. And the risk is higher, of course. The road back is also not as easy if you're moving cities, so if you're moving jobs within your own, hometown. And the first level, this is the interview, so you need to assess whether the people that you're talking with are a good cultural fit for you as well, and you can work with them on a daily basis. If there are hints or signs that it may not work out, I would recommend you to really dive deeper and really understand whether this is a more common issue.
I love it. I think this one goes to all interviews out there, but especially when you take such a big risk as relocating to a new home away from home. Thank you very much, Igor. Nagar, are you ready? Are you prepared for the next one?
Sure.
Fantastic. So the next one comes from Alice. It goes to you, and she's asking, how much of a relocation decision should be based on the company's culture? Igor, you made the right stage, but just the right staging before we got into this question. What would make you highly impressed with organizational culture in regard to being a potential relocation destination?
I think of it in two ways. So one, very similar to what Igor was saying, it is a big risk you're taking. You want to make sure you're aligned to the culture of the company. You can see yourself working there for a long time. They're going to be supportive. And I wouldn't go and ask them directly, be like, what is your culture? I would kind of ask them, like, how do you guys make decisions? How do you come up with your strategies? Who was, promoted and why? Who do you think, fits best in the company? So that's from a very career-oriented perspective. We should do that for every job, but if you're doing a relocation, it's really important to get it right. And sometimes it really helps if you reach out to people who are not part of the interview process. You can find people on LinkedIn quite easily. I've done this before. Like, you chat up to people, you tell them you're new to the company, you're new to the country, you want to learn about what it's like, ask them about the culture, the company, what kind of work they do. I think that aspect is really important to kind of prepare yourself for the culture you're going into. But I think the second one that I never thought about before I moved was, you come to a new country, you probably don't have any friends. You have no one to count on. It's really good to be in a company that you can actually be friends with your coworkers and you can count on them. I had a very personal story. So I gave birth a year and a half ago, and it happened in the middle of COVID, and it was an emergency situation. And actually, one of my coworkers came and watched my older son for 3 days. And that would not happen in a company that's, you just see your coworkers as coworkers. You need a support network, and you need to recreate that in your new company. So you should be working with people you can see yourself really as part of friends and family.
I think, first of all, congratulations. And this is a beautiful, beautiful story. Even if it wasn't like a relocation story, but especially as you were like new to that place. So this is really a heartwarming one. Thank you very much for sharing this with us, Nigar. But you know what, guys? I think we should spend more time talking about this one. Culture and friends, or more welcoming. Culture, if I am to put it in this way. So Igor and Anna, what are the things that you will look for in the culture, like what Nagar said, like reach out to people that worked there before, check the friendship aspect, right, of the work and the culture there, all the little things that you have learned during your experiences that you would like to share with the audience, because this is a really, really important topic.
And do you want to go first?
Okay, maybe I'll start. So I think I really like what Nigar said, and in terms of like friendship and the circle, I think what usually helps also to see like the team with whom you're going to be working, and also to see these people outside of the whole interview process. So, for example, we organize a little coffee drinks or something with a new team member outside of the normal interview process, and then you get to know the person better, right? It's already informal environment, and you can talk and maybe, I don't know, have a dinner together. It actually helps to establish this relationship, and also helps you to make a decision, right? So whether you can see if you're able to work with those people, and you also can see if you can build something more than just a working relationship, or maybe it's going to be a friendship.
Fantastic. A fantastic example. Thank you very much. Igor?
Yeah, I mean, I would look for something that works for you, right? So different people work in different styles, I guess. But I mean, to me, the things that were important to me when I was making a decision, just as I like that example, we really, how the aspect of, we're gonna do good at work, we're gonna achieve, and how we're gonna, sort of work together to achieve a result, and then how we're gonna also play when we're not working, as in, personal relationships, as Zana just made an example of. How do you how people talk to each other? Is it formal? Is there humor? Do people joke with each other? I mean, that is probably the first thing you want to check. If it's all serious and people are not joking and people are not talking in an informal way, then maybe something you should reconsider.
I like to see how polite you are. You're not saying, take this option off the table. You're like, maybe this is not the perfect place for you to relocate to. No, I love that. Actually, you're acting like a product manager should, because you're not making any hypotheses here. You're just, putting the data points on the table, and you allow the audience to make their decision. Really, really
dive
nice.
deeper. Always dive deeper. Challenge your own assumptions. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you very much, all of you guys. The next question comes from Noor, and this is a really nice one. What is the important soft skill a PM should possess when considering relocation? Okay, so we're talking about hard skills in most of the sessions, but soft skills are super relevant to all product management life, but especially when we're talking about relocation. So what is an important skill that you will tell all PMs in the audience to look for in their toolbox? And Igor, we're staying with you, and you're going to be the first one to reply.
Sure. To me, I'd say it kind of goes back to the first answer that I gave about, ego, but I will probably take it in slightly different directions to emotional intelligence. Just be ready to change, be ready to not only to accept change, but also to change yourself.
Pivot goals, pivot goes to people and not just product, you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you gotta accept that the people that you're working with will be very, very different to what you're used to. So you gotta step back and understand. I think one of the key principles that I would really like to emphasize is understand before you suggest anything. So take time to understand, and take step back, learn, and then get into it.
I love that. Thank you very much, Igor. Anna.
Yeah, I would maybe continue a bit the line of Igor, and I would narrow it down to adaptability, because I think as a product managers, we will need to adapt our communication styles, right? We'll need to adapt the ways of working that we used to have before. We even will need to adapt our leadership approach, right? So it may be a new place, new culture. You need to learn from scratch how to talk to people, right? So I think the adaptability is going to be like very important soft skill.
Yep, absolutely. I love this one. Thank you very much, Nigar.
I'll keep extending then. I think it's a bit more of like, how we do like discovery to see what do customers want, what the behavior is. A lot of that, I think we take for granted when you get kind of used to the culture, and when you go somewhere new, you do realize that people actually make different decisions. Like in Australia, buying something that's made in Australia is a big deal. I would have never thought about it, but it's like little things that you learn. So really giving yourself time to learn how the market is different, market conditions, competitive kind of financial situation is different, customer behavior is different, how you work with your coworkers is different, like the culture, how people talk to each other is different, how people write to each other is different. I think it's just give yourself a break, take a bit of time. It's like when you start a new project as a PM, you do a bit of discovery. You make sure you have everything right before you start making decisions.
I love that. I love that. And this is a very practical suggestion, by the way, because things are different from one place to another, including even the dress code, even like the little things, or how do you act at lunch, or do everyone go together or alone, or, stuff like
what
that.
kind
So
of coffee they drink. Like there's so many like little things that you
exactly.
find.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel, Nicole, like you have some interesting or funny, stories to share in stock. So get them ready, because I know they are there. So we would love to hear them down the road of this session. Thank you very much. Anna, are you ready for a question from Sharon?
Let's go for it.
Fantastic. So here's your next question. Sharon is asking, in your opinion, what constitutes a successful relocation? So what is the KPI, in other words, of a successful relocation? Is there a set of parameters?
Yeah, I think for successful relocation, you basically, you should be able seamlessly transition to a new role, right? And here there are a few different parameters that I would consider. So one would be your personal and professional growth, right? Because you should be able to grow as a person and also as a specialist in the new place. You should be able to get new skills and experience, expand your professional network. So I think that's like parameter number one for me. The second one would be also getting the positive feedback from your colleagues, from your team, from your stakeholders, right? Because it's the people with whom you're going to be working day to day, and that's if you will get the positive feedback, you will know that you actually are doing it correctly, right? Yeah. Then also like a successful seamless integration into the new culture. I assume that it's relocation to another country, different culture, that basically you then understand after the time what are the local values, what the ways of working, what the communication styles. You can ask the right questions, you know how to answer them. So I think that's the one that I think about. And from my experience, I know, for example, relocating to Germany was quite challenging. One, because of the language, right? So it's you speak one language in your country, you relocate to another one. you immediately need to improve your language skills, right? So that makes a lot of stress on you, including into new environment, new people. You have no friends, no one around, right? So I think that's a boomer.
Yeah. Even like as just you mentioned, even new weather. Like the things that count, that change the way you open your day when you just look out of the window, and it's just different. The atmosphere where you live, it's different. Yes, absolutely. Igor, are you ready for your question?
Sure.
So this is a really interesting one. It comes from Emily, and it represents, like, this is one question represents like 10 different questions that were submitted from the audience. All are asking, if you had the chance to work with the company before you made your relocation decision, or is this something that can be done? Everyone is eager to know. Emily especially, did you have a chance to work with the company before you made the decision?
In my example, I did not. There was no need. It's kind of awkward. I remember I joined a meeting for it was particular. There was a sort of backlog discussion or something like that. I can't remember for sure, but I remember that I had so many difficulties actually understanding the people around the table, that I thought, wow, I mean, it's not gonna work if I do this digitally, or if I telecommute for a long time. So that kind of the actual move, the physical move, is important. I think if you need to be very clear about the goal, or as a PM, you need to be clear about the goal, right? If the goal is to assess the company and sort of make a final decision after you work with them for a couple of months, yeah, I would not recommend that. Simply because it means that you're not actually, you haven't committed to the actual move, or you haven't changed your mindset about the move itself. If this is just practically, hey, you need to work with them for a couple of months just to bridge the gap of you getting visas, or figuring out the logistics, it makes sense, but it won't be the same. And just always remember that during that time, right, as well as you assess them, they also assess you, and you're not on the same ground. You probably need to be there to be on par, and you really understand and learn the ropes.
I love the fact that you remind everyone in the audience that a relocation decision goes both ways. So it's not just about candidates, making sure that they're having the right decisions. It's also about the companies assessing the situation as well. So we have to commit. We have to show that we are all in. This is really, really good. And it especially goes to, what are the KPIs? Like, what do we call a good decision here, as we discussed with you before? So it's, as you said, it's about assessment, or it's about the practical aspect, and then you get a really good answer. So thank you for that. And I love the fact that we're discussing it, because I think there were like at least 10 people in the audience asking the same question. The next one goes to all of you guys. It comes from Fabrizio, and he is asking, how can a product manager mitigate the risk of relocating? Okay, so there is risk. We can't ignore it. You gave really good reasons why and how, and tips, but now we're going to be really nitty-gritty as to how to do it. And Anna, we're starting with you. What is your tip or trick?
Yeah, so I think for me the trick or tip would be to build your support circle. So that's basically figure out, do you know anyone in the place where you're moving? Literally, when I was moving to Germany, I had to search in social networks, whom do I know in Berlin? I found actually, so one of my friends from university is living around Berlin. So that was the first person to connect with, right? So you start building a little bit of your circle, like support circle, then check in the community. So for example, I don't know, like product management communities, are there any events, meetups that you can build your network? That already helps, right? You will speak to people the same language, right? That helps. And also from my personal experience, expanding your hobbies and bringing the hobbies to the new country will help tremendously. Learn the language, meet new people, keep the same excitement as you had before.
Are you saying that dancing is the best way to learn German? Oh, I'm telling the audience.
That's exactly how I learned it, Moria.
Well, I know you a little bit, yeah. So Anna here is a professional dancer. So yeah, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. This is the right way to meet people. Yeah, and is that okay that I mentioned to the whole world, the product community worldwide, that you are our dancer because you
No,
are.
I should have been written to you not to mention that, but
We love you, Anna. Thank you very much for that. Nagar, you are next. How can we mitigate some risk?
I think the same way you prepare for a release, just prepare as much as possible. I got here on a Sunday and I started work on a Monday. Was not a good idea. Didn't have my clothes ready. Didn't know how to get to work. Like, it's the little things that counts on your first day that you just don't want to stress out about. How to actually get to your first day of work. So I think just prepare. If you need a place to live, if your kids have to go to daycare, if you have to figure out, a car, just prepare as much as possible. Think about all the scenarios you need in the first couple of weeks, and have a plan.
I love that. Well, just like with the products that we build, everything that may go wrong will eventually go wrong, including the things that you won't think about them. So Nagar is here telling you, think about all of these things ahead of time. This is a really practical and good recommendation. Thank you very much. And Igor.
Yeah, so both Anna and Nagar talked about the environment and the surrounding of where you will be, super critical. Where I would maybe position this is also about the company. I'm gonna get a little bit boring here. What I would research is just try to understand basic things such as financials. You're making a huge investment, so your life investment in terms of your time, in terms of your move, in terms of your mental your mental sort of capacity. So just think of the things that really indicate whether how well the company is doing, such things as financial, cost, revenue. Look at NPS. Do people love what the company is selling? Look at things such as Glassdoor reviews. Overall, if you don't have access to some of these, look at the investors. Always can assess who the investors are and how well they back up the company, and who the investors are. So that will give you the examples of of the prominence. And just overall, is this a good fit for you in terms of the the role of the company itself? Will it move your career forward too?
Nice.
and I think now we lost Moria.
Yeah, we were prepared for it.
Wow. Does
Shall
anyone want to
we-
share a story while she's away and we don't have any questions?
Like you, Nagar, I also arrived
Now we
on
all
Sunday, and I went to work on Monday. And I remember the first day, I was like, "Oh, it's so hot! It's so hot here." It was May, just around that time, and I was like, "Oh God, it's so hot." But then somehow I got used to it. 4 years later, and it's all right.
I love the weather stories because this is so true to a relocation. Like, these are the little things that nobody tells you about relocation. I remember when I had to move to Germany for a few months for work. It was like, what is this winter? Like, what's going on? I used to live in the US and it wasn't like this. Like, what's going on? There is no sunlight. Yeah, so absolutely, weather stories. This is the one thing that defines a relocation. Absolutely. Guys, I trusted that you did an amazing job talking about, these questions and these answers when I left, when I wasn't here. So I have a question to ask you. What are the stories that you want to share in the meantime? Because we promised the audience some really juicy stories here, or not, I don't know if juicy, but something that will give them a little taste of relocation. Ningar, do you have one to share with the audience?
I'm trying to figure out which one is not too embarrassing to share.
You're in the right direction. I like the way you think. Share the juicy stuff.
Where do we start? I think one of the funny things that happened to me is, so in Canada, we do have coffee quite a bit, but we call drip coffee. And when I came here, the first time I went to order coffee, they were like, "What kind of coffee would you like?" And I was like, "Coffee. And they're like very fancy with their coffee. You have to order exactly. And there's like a barista standing there waiting for you to order the beans and how you want it to prepare it. And like my coworkers were like, "What the hell is wrong with her? Like, does she not know what kind of coffee she likes?" So I was like, "I don't know, back where I'm from, it's just coffee." Like, it's just the little things you just find out, and they're so funny.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Igor, a funny story to share?
I think the one that stuck with me was on the first day when I came here, and I went to work. And I asked before what is the dress code, and I was told, hey, casual. I mean, but there are different gradations of casual. So, I rocked up in like sort of casual shoes, but dress shoes, casual dress shoes, pants and a shirt. And I remember the guy who helped me to relocate, or the HR person who helped me to relocate, he said, let's go for coffee. And it's just a coffee, greetings coffee. And we were walking out. He goes, you look very, very good, but you don't have to do this on a daily basis. And I kind of laughed. I really appreciated his direct instruction, I guess.
Yeah, he saved you more days of like collared shirts at the office. Really nice. Thank you very much, Igor. Anna, which was,
Yeah.
by the way, nodding your head when you were talking about dress code.
That was exactly also my story. Is like on the first day, I also came more like officially dressed, and then I understood it's like, oh, that's not the case. The company, the agency where I used to work, is basically was very relaxed in terms of the dress code. So like on the second day, I learned that. Yes.
It didn't happen again. Really nice. Thank you guys for opening up and share this with us. The next question comes from Hadass. It goes to Unigar. And she is asking, after you are already there, you made a location decision, you are there, what happens if you lose your job? How do you suggest looking for another job locally or remotely?
Yeah, I think especially in Australia, it depends on what kind of visa you are and whether you can stay if you're not with the same company. Usually they give like a short amount of time to find another job to kind of stay in the company. I think the one thing that's really important is one, to have a bigger piggy bank in that case, because you should, if you are relocating, make sure you have a bit of a financial kind of stopgap if something happens. But it's not impossible. Obviously, it depends on the market. If the market's good, it's quite easy. If the market's bad, you have to kind of account for that ahead of time. It takes a bit more time that I found. When back home you don't have a network. So you don't quite have people you can kind of put feelers to. You might not know about the companies and the tech companies because they can be quite local and different from where you've come from. And also the way the recruiters work, I found in Australia and Canada are completely different. So no, kind of having some conversations with a few people who maybe have found a job before, or their HR of your last company, to just get a sense of what is the best way to do, where are the jobs posted. Like in Australia, LinkedIn is not actually the biggest job board. There are like local job boards. So just to make sure you have all the information straight and what they expect from you in terms of application. Some companies now expect portfolios. So just making sure you kind of have all that information, and then it just takes time. It's not the end of the world. I know a lot of people who've gone through that and were able to find a job before they had to kind of cancel their visa. At the end of the day, you know the risk you're taking. You can just prepare for it.
I love that. And actually, it goes back to one of your first answers when it was like, okay, take the risk, make the decision, do the thing that works for you, but make sure you mitigate the risk and think about everything ahead of time. Like, for example, what you said about like, set some money aside, be prepared for the option of what happened. Find some information ahead of time, maybe about like the way they source for people, for employees at that location, so you will know how to do and what to do, and you will have the option to do so. if this happens. So this is a really good suggestion. And I saw that you were touched by this question, and it was really interesting to you. So go ahead and share your opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I think it also makes sense to try to search for the new job locally, because you as a person, you already had the stress to relocate, right? You went through finding most probably new accommodations, set up your network, finding the doctors, and so on and so forth, and then thinking about moving again somewhere else will maybe another stress on top of searching for a job. So I would actually try to reduce the stress level and try to do as much as possible in the local environment where you are. And then, of course, if it's not possible, then maybe think about next one and then looking for a job remotely or somewhere else.
Yeah, I love that. So as I say, go to meetups, meet people, get to expand your network. Really, really good one. Igor, more thoughts on the subject?
It's very well covered. Hard to add. What I maybe just say is don't panic. Why? Because even if you don't find something locally, you've done relocation once, so you're more experienced. You know how it's done, so you can do it again. Not locally, then look elsewhere. Things will happen.
Love that. Thank you very much. The next question is a juicy one. It comes from Maya, and she's asking, just out loud, very direct, what is the biggest mistakes? What are the biggest mistakes to avoid when relocating? A juicy but needed question. And here we're starting with you, Negar. What is the thing that you would like everyone in the audience to prevent themselves from happening, going through?
Yeah, I think it's going with the theme a lot of being prepared. Even when you go in the same company from office to office, things just work differently and people have different expectations and different ways of working. I think taking a little bit of time to settle before you start making any big splashes and try to change the way the company works and your team works and that kind of stuff, because you are also seen as a bit of an outsider. You're just not a new employee. They know you've come from somewhere else. So getting their trust, getting on the same page, making sure you're all aligned, especially with your senior management. They are taking a risk bringing you in. It will be important for them to see that you're on board and you're kind of aligned with their goals, their culture, before you start kind of really hitting the ground.
Yes, absolutely. That you are invested, as Igor mentioned before. Absolutely. I love that, Negar. Thank you very much. Igor.
Yeah, in the same vein, I think not understanding the context before jumping into conclusions, that's probably the biggest risk we all face on a daily basis. You gotta really learn, listen, understand, ask questions, talk to as many people as possible in the company. Get connected to the people, see what they, what the daily challenges are, and don't judge, don't give suggestions, just listen. Just be a very good listener in the beginning, and then sort of have maybe the other thing that I would suggest is not, or as a mistake, is not having a clear 30, 60, 90-day plan. Even for yourself, you don't have to give it to everyone. Just make one for yourself and see how you progress from there.
I love that. And also it ties back to one of your previous answers where communication was a big deal of the things that you recommended. I love that. Thank you very much. Anna.
Yeah, for me, I think it also will go out from this adaptability soft skill is basically to come with your ways of working and try to push it to everyone. So I think in this case, it's basically as a new person, new joiner in the new environment, you really will need to see how the people are working. Yeah, so how are they doing certain things every day? Observe it, learn from it, and then suggest. Yeah, but not to bring it immediately as basically use your toolbox first, right?
You are doing my job for me, which I love. You're showing how it all ties together. This is fantastic. Exactly. Yes, it's about our toolbox as product managers, using it in this scenario as well. I love that. Now, these were the questions that were submitted ahead of time, but we have a question from the audience. This one comes from another Maya, I guess, and she's asking you, Anna, but we'll address it to everyone. And she's asking, we'll leave the junior or PM aspect aside, but she's asking, how do you search for a job when you relocate and there is a language barrier? Okay, so about experience or no experience, this is like another topic. It's not relevant for here, but when there is a language barrier, how do you search for your next job when you relocate? Okay, when you first relocate and then you search for the job. Anna, you will start first, and then Igor and Negar, you will join.
Yeah, I think important is actually understand with a company how important is the language. Yes, because we know from the job descriptions, right? The companies like to say is whatever language is a must. And then when you talk to recruiter, you actually understand, it's not a must, it's a should. So we can actually negotiate, and then the person can learn within a year or two, right? So it also happens in Germany a lot. So I think it's basically important to really double check, is this language is a barrier, or is it more like a should requirement, and understand the timeline, or that you as a professional has to learn this language, I don't know, a year or two. And let's be realistic, when you're relocating, new environment, new job, most probably the first 6 months is not the best time to learn the new language. So you either should be doing it beforehand, or you will need to estimate maybe after 6 months plus 1 year or something, right? Again, professional language may be a bit like a longer, will require longer time to learn. So I would actually recommend to really go deeper and understand the requirement itself.
Thank you very much, Anna, for your answer. Negar?
I haven't had this before because I moved from like two countries that speak another same language. But what I would say is I have hired people who English is not their first language, and what I found is they sometimes lack the confidence where they think their communication is not clear, but it's actually they're very good communicators. Just because there's an accent or you're not used to speaking English, but they are so concise and they're so well thought out. Like it doesn't matter. Everybody understands what they're trying to say. So it's really important to also have the confidence. It's not just the like language skills.
I love this shot of encouragement that you spread with our audience. Thank you very much, Negar. Igor?
I would like to focus on the other side of the question, about being a junior PM. There is definitely you probably as a junior PM and in language aside, build your portfolio. Take every opportunity to build your portfolio where you are now, to show how versatile you are, to show that you worked on multiple products, or you've achieved metrics, etc., etc. So just be very clear about your achievements during the interviews. I think especially if you're beginning your career or your journey as a product manager, this way you get asked a lot of questions about, like what are you trying to achieve, like what products you worked on. Just be very clear about your answers, star techniques, whatever. But show examples of how you made the impact. Whether it's a small piece of the product, bigger piece of the product, doesn't matter. Impact is the most important.
Really good. Really good. And now we're going to do something that I personally love very much. We call it the question that was not asked. Okay, where you guys ask questions that you think that the audience missed. They were to ask it, but they just forgot to ask them. To give you some time to think, guys, I will suggest one of my own. Oh, Negar, go ahead.
I have a good one. I think one that I expected to see is kind of what we've gained and learned from the whole experience of relocation and working in a new environment. So maybe I'll ask it from Anna first. What have you learned and gained? I'm Mariana.
I love that. I love that. I'm bringing you here. Okay, I'm relocating you to this office from Australia. Love that. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yes, I think the question, so I can answer. So what I learned is basically you need to have a very clear plan. So when I was relocating to Germany, I was not a product manager, so it was a little bit chaotic, and there was a lot of thinking. I could organize, but I think right now I would approach it differently. I would structure it, I don't know, board, task, activities, priorities, that you really focus on the right things at the right moment. And I think in general, the relocation itself, of course, it's a huge opportunity, and I think people actually, we need to be open to these opportunities. Yeah, so it opens a new doors for something else.
Yeah, go ahead. Now we need to ask Igor.
Yeah.
Igor?
No.
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. For me, I think maybe I'll zoom in and get into changing the continents. Like Asia works differently, completely differently to how you or I was used to in the Western world, in terms of communication, in terms of how what product management is, how the engineering team works, all of this. So for me, it was actually a big learning in terms of even on a personal level, just understanding how people operate, the thinking process, how they exchange opinions, the candor or not. Just learning this, I think, made me a better PM, first of all, maybe a better person as well, because, I definitely, in terms of you being humble or sort of being open to how you learn and how you communicate with people.
I love that. And Agar, yours?
I think twofold. One, my career has kind of progressed a lot faster here than I think you would have had in Canada. So I have gained that product kind of product growth because of the way the market is in Australia. But on the personal side, I also feel like I've learned a lot about how much more I can accomplish, and we've had a lot of challenges. We've been alone. So between like me and my husband, we've become like a really good team going through this whole change together, and seeing how much more we can actually accomplish.
Fantastic. I love that very much. Thank you very much, Nagar. Anna, the question that was not asked.
Yeah, my question would be, I think, to all of us is, how much would you consider your family and the kids into the decision of relocation? And maybe Negar, you can you can answer that.
I think we considered it a lot because one of the main reasons we moved was for the work-life balance, and it was when my son was a year and a half old. So we wanted him to grow up where living outside, being outside in nature was more common. So from that perspective, I think we considered him a lot. But then there is the downside of we actually left our parents in Canada. So we kind of gained some and we lost some kind of connection with our old family.
Thank you. Anna, ask Igor.
Igor, over to you.
Yeah, so my wife came with me. My daughter was born here nearly 2 years ago. So I was thinking of like a future relocation. I think Singapore is great for kids. The same weather, everything is so close, everything is so accessible. So I would actually think twice, just from her perspective, whether to move again. I mean, definitely in the future, we can't stay here forever. So, but I think family is important, especially with kids, right? You have sort of this milestones, school. I mean, where they go to school will be important as they build their network, their friends, etc. So you don't want to move every 2 years. You don't want to move every 4 years, right? So you have to think. You have probably start planning, especially when you have kids. Start planning a bit more in advance.
Okay, thanks, Igor. We have another question from the audience. Maybe we should also check that one.
I love it, and we will answer it. But first, Anna, yours. How did you make your decision?
Yeah, very quickly, we considered it with a partner. We were basically both of us trying to find a job, and whoever found the first option, then we were ready to move on. So actually, we were quite open and supportive each other to do that. Yeah, so.
Fantastic. And now, following Anna's request, we're going to ask to answer another question that comes from Maya. Igor, we are going to ask you for your question that was not asked, so get one prepared. And now Maya is asking the difficult question. Tell us about moments when you regretted your decision. Did you lose touch with your friends back home? Can someone share about moving as a single person? So all of them actually moved to their destination, the new destination with a spouse, but moments when you regretted it all. The wedding that you missed, that friend that you weren't there when he or she had their first baby born. We all know the stories. Share them with me. Negar, I think you have the first story to share because you're nodding here with your head, knowing what we're talking about.
I think both of the things you said happened. So one of our best friends got married while we were here, and it was actually during COVID, so we weren't there. And my best friend had their first baby actually 6 months after we had moved here, so we couldn't go back. But there are a lot of moments, and for me, it's more about our parents. So missing out, like I had a child here, and they kind of go through like stages where they're very cute, they're growing really quickly, and I feel like they kind of miss out on seeing their grandchildren. So those are, I think, the moments it's been a hard decision. I wouldn't say I've regretted it as much.
But sometimes it's not easy. It's not all, it's not all new coffee. Okay. Exploration of new coffee. Yeah, it's more difficult than that. Igor, moments when you regretted the experience.
Probably quite similar in terms of you definitely lose touch with the people back at home, and COVID didn't help. Like when we moved, it was 2 years of COVID, could not travel, and I haven't been to New Zealand since then, to be honest. And I really want to go, but I just don't want to sort of travel with my daughter now, seasons and all that. But I think when you can regret it is, or there will be moments when you regret it. It'll be for so many reasons. But just be very focused on the initial goal. Why did you make this decision in the first place? And think of it as a long-term sort of investment from your side, right? If you regret in this particular moment, it doesn't mean that you will regret it if you look back at this experience many years later, right? Those things will be forgotten. Focus on the good stuff.
Absolutely.
And work can be frustrating, right? We all get frustrated at work.
Yes.
Just move on.
Even at our home, we get frustrated, right? Just it's part of life. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And Anna.
Yeah, I can relate to what Nigar and Igor said, but also I will add that I think I was regretting because of the weather in Berlin. Noria, you know that. So coming from very, let's say, sunny place in summer, cold in winter, and then coming to the Berlin, which is weather, I don't know. There is no clear winter, there is no clear summer, right? There's something in between. It's raining a lot, so it was quite difficult. That I sometimes still regret that, and I miss the weather. And I think there was also the second moment is facing the how would I call it? The paperwork required in Germany. That also still drives me nuts when I need to do something. And I've never had so many papers at home. I actually had to buy files to hold all of them and structure them and even put in numbers on top of them to find out what I need.
Yeah, Southland Germany. Indeed. Yeah. Frustrating moments, but overall, really good experiences, all of you. Thank you very much. Igor, the question that was not asked?
Maybe the one I would expect it is, what was the process of finding a job overseas? How long did it take you to find a job overseas? And what sort of like, what sort of, how did you go through this process, and how did you come to the final decision?
Choose who's asking first, like this.
Oh yeah, sure. Maybe I'll go with Anna this time.
Yes.
Okay, I think my case maybe would be easy fast answer because I was not the driver for the relocation. It was my partner, but nevertheless we were both looking for the jobs overseas. And let's say from interview wise or so, it was pretty similar. Like you have several stages, you talk to the people. Of course, then the visa and your work permit question and situation comes to the stage where you actually may get a rejection because the visa process back in the day took much longer. Yeah, I think right now it's much easier and there are different programs. But back in the day, it actually was the reasons that I was quite disappointed sometimes that I was just rejected because of the visa could be longer and so on.
Thank you for sharing. Negar?
So this is one of those embarrassing stories. So me and
Save the
my
best for last.
so me and my husband were talking about moving to Australia. Have had a couple of bottles of wine, and I was on LinkedIn, and I applied to my job at my current company while I was a bit drunk. And then the next morning, the recruiter called, and I didn't know what they were talking about. So that's kind of how I ended up getting the job in the company. And it all happened so quickly. I basically got a 6-month working holiday visa, which is meant to be for like apple picking and like stuff like that. And that's how I came to Australia. And then we figured it out once we were here.
So your tip is take it casual, enjoy the ride, and things will just work out for you, preferably with a glass of wine.
Planned a lot better than I did, but yes.
I love that. I love that. Guys, I had the best time. We had such an interesting session here. I can't believe the time is over. How was it for you? Not,
It was great
not
for us. I
yeah,
thought you were
this is
asking the
my time to
audience.
speak. It's about you guys talking again. Yeah. Anna and Igor, how was it for you?
For me, it was the first time experience in this format. So thanks a lot for inviting. I think it was really easy to talk. I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope audience also enjoyed.
I'm sure they had. Igor, did you have to?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the questions. Thank you for the questions, everyone in the audience. I really enjoyed meeting fellow relocators, relocatees. I don't know, but I guess as a closing note, why not? Just go for it. Give it a go.
Fantastic. This was the league. These were the people that we love to see here. These are Negar from Sydney joining us, Mohtania, Director of Product at Per Circle and Product League Mentor, Igor Motsavoy, VP Product at 99Co and ex-Product League Mentor from Singapore, and Anna Suprun, Head of Technology Product at Element Insurance and Product League Mentor from Berlin. These were the speakers, the panelists that we had today. I had the best time having you on our floor here. I love you all. I love getting to know you better and hearing the experiences and stories that you shared with us. Thank you so much for being the awesome mentors and leaders that you are. Can't wait to have you again on this floor. And until then, bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.